It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Monday edition of this show. Hey, thanks so much for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, a big shout out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. Yes, I am back from Germany. It is jet lag. Oh, it's a struggle, folks, but we are here and we're alive, so that's all that matters. And really had a great trip. Encourage everybody to check out our coverage of Agritechnica. I bet you it's going to take us about 3 to 4 months to publish all the videos that we took while we were on location there in Hanover, Germany. Saw a lot of you on location there, ran into you in the very, very busy aisleways of that show. I know there's a lot of farmers that went over, some I didn't even run into, but I saw some of your Instagram posts and Twitter posts, so hope everybody attended, had a great time. And of course, if you didn't attend, you can always, as you know, listener Corey Leeson tweeted yesterday, it was great to follow along as everybody was attending Agritechnica, and even gave RealAgriculture a shout out for some of our coverage and follow up of what was all happening. So appreciate Corey throwing that shout out as well. If you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find us across all the different social media platforms. Also, we also have a RealAg feedback line. Now, all you got to do is call this number, 855-776-6147. You dial that number, press the number 3, and of course, you leave me a voicemail. Today on the show, it is Agronomic Monday. We got Peter Repeat Johnson here. I know he's waist deep in corn harvest right now on his farm. We'll get him to pause that combine and talk to us about some bunch of agronomic issues. We're also going to hear today from Barrie Mann in a product spotlight. He's with Genesis Fertilizers. He's going to have a conversation with Lindsay Smith, and then we'll also have some time today for the top ag news stories of the day. Okay, so speaking of feedback, got an email here from Mike. Long email. Appreciate, Mike, you taking the time. Really do appreciate it. You were listening to the show over the last couple of weeks. One of the things that Mike said here was he's referring to, I was talking about the results of the Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index, and I mentioned about just the overall negativity right now that is out there. I'm going to try to remember to mention something about the European farmer after I read this piece of feedback. But okay, so Mike says, I can see why farmers are negative in the future. Yes, the central bank has paused hikes, but according to all the charts I've seen, real estate is what's keeping us high. Only way to bring that down is cheaper real estate, and the only way to accomplish that is to keep rates high so people can't qualify for the loans for the current market. But high rates will ripple through everything, and that will definitely cause hardship. What's going to happen when guys can't justify to buy new machines, either due to high mortgage payments or how high the payments are on the new machine, how high will they be? When people aren't buying houses near as fast and can't pay as much, developers won't be paying big bucks for the land to develop. It's really an all-round bad situation, and I personally think at the current progression, the bottom will just fall right out of the economy because eventually no one will be able to afford anything. Mike, that is very negative. I hope you are wrong. Man, I'm cheering more here for the soft landing. Mike is thinking about deep recession in terms of what could possibly happen with his economy. But yeah, things are more expensive. And I will say this, okay? Now, I've been commenting about the negative sentiment in Canada with the farmer, but I will tell you, in Europe at Agritechnica, we heard a lot from manufacturers about the negativity right now with the Western European farmer, and also machinery companies, OEMs, bracing for a slowdown in machinery sales. And so we went from shortage, everybody ramping up the production. I think we have John Deere's earnings this week. That could tell a little bit of a tale here. Now we're moving into maybe a slowing demand period. If that happens, there's going to be a bit of a surplus of machines on the market. So that's something to watch out for. So some of this negativity may actually could have an impact on some of the demand, which may in turn maybe impact some of the pricing on new and used machinery. That was kind of something we heard a little bit about as we were going from booth to booth, indeed. Mike, you were very negative, but I do appreciate your email and you being a listener. And you can be just like Mike, and you can send us your feedback. Haney at RealAgriculture.com. Okay, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be talking to Peter Repeat Johnson. He is standing by right after this.
Managing your inoculants just got easier with Lalfix Start Spherical Pulses from Lalliman Plant Care. Get increased nitrogen fixation and phosphorus availability for any pulses you grow. Its high porosity granule provides improved handling and accurate metering, so it's easy flowing and virtually dust-free. It's the only inoculant you need. It's Pulse Perfect. Contact your Lalliman sales representative today.
Peter Johnson at RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing the Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
What's next for your fields? At Pioneer, delivering industry-leading genetics drives everything we do. From the scientists in the lab to our local teams with boots on the ground, we are determined to get there first. Developing top-performing products, proven in more growing conditions than ever before. Pioneer. What's next happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Agronomic Monday. This segment's brought to you by Optimum Gly, new canola technology from Corteva Agriscience. Of course, also the sponsor of all of our Agritechnica coverage that is being put up. Well, it's not all up yet. It's going to take some time. I think over 70 videos that we did, and it was all brought to you by Optimum Gly and Corteva Agriscience. Let's jump into some of the agronomic talk and bring in Peter Repeat Johnson. Hey, Pete, great to chat with you again.
Absolutely, Shaun, and we have had sunshine over the weekend, and it's a sunny Monday, and there's going to be rain Tuesday. We don't want rain, but Pete is in a good mood because we have had good weather, and I just love sunshine.
Yeah, has the rain been able to stay away?
Yeah, we really lucked out on Friday. They were talking about rain on Friday, and we ended up with just a half a millimeter. At least at my farm, and most places did not get a lot of rain. So that was a real win for just about everybody. There's still lots of field work to be done. There's still soybeans that are being taken off. They're getting whittled down, but there's still some soybeans coming out of the field. And so, yeah, we here in southwestern Ontario, at least, I think eastern Ontario maybe wasn't quite as fortunate as we were, but yeah, we've been able to keep rolling, and that's exactly what we need to do.
Well, I got to ask you before we get into some of the agronomics. I know the every fall you're in a play, and that play opened, I believe, late last week. How did it go?
Awesome! It is absolute fluff. Okay, it's called The Last Resort. It's a comedy musical. And my son came to see me Saturday night, and on the way out, he said, "I'm scarred for life." So if you want something to do that's an absolute blast, Thursday to Sunday in Embro this coming weekend, there's still tickets left for sure for Thursday and Friday nights. It's just, it's a blast, and I guarantee you will laugh yourself silly for 2 hours, and it's a good mental break, Shaun. I think we need to laugh. There's so many things going on that are stressors. It's a good stress reliever.
And for you too, I think.
Although the amount of effort that goes into doing one of these community theater productions, it's just, I don't think people realize how many hours we invest. It really, and how many people backstage. It's community theater. We're all volunteers, but boy, we there's a lot of effort put in. No, that's for sure. But yeah, it is my comic relief. Even if when it's not a comedy, it's my comic relief away from agriculture. So it's good for me too.
Yeah. Well, you need those kind of things, right? I know in the Farmer Rapid Fire, I always ask people, hey, any plans for the winter or even during the growing season? You're going to get away at all? How are you going to sort of recharge a little bit? Everybody does it differently. There's not one way to do it. It's important you just do it, whatever that looks like, right?
100%, man. You just need that mental break. Mental health is a big deal, and if you're always under stress, it's just a matter of time before you crack. So that breakaway to recharge and to just get yourself regenerated is really important. Well,
I'm still trying to regenerate myself after Germany last week, being at Agritechnica. It was a great show, Pete. There is so much happening, and so many cool things that we saw, and connecting also with listeners of the program. That was really great too, running into some people along the way. Just an example, ran into Dan Petker from Ontario with him and his dad, which was really cool. We were around the horse booth. So yeah, really, really great time. Someday you got to get there.
Yeah, and Shaun, I appreciate you offered me to go this year, but the play, I can't leave when the play was on, so we should have set that up earlier, and maybe I wouldn't have auditioned. But regardless, I will get there. I think I just got to book it. It's 4 years away, right, Shaun?
Every 2 years. 2 years.
Every 2 years. Okay, so 2 years from now, I should just book it in my calendar and head there. So tell me, what, out of all the things you saw, give me your top 3 cool things or innovations or what really excited you? Oh,
well, lots to choose from there. I think for sure from a product standpoint, what stole the show was the New Holland CR11 combine, which will have the largest capacity in the world. That definitely gained the most attention. Was that a big innovation? Not sure, but it's another increase in size, so to speak. But it definitely got a lot of the crowds. The CNH area was packed the entire week. I talked about this last week a little bit. I think there's been a real reality check, a reality check on electrification. We did not see here is our tractor of the future, and of course it'll be powered by fully by electricity. We don't know how we're going to do that, but it's going to happen. You didn't see hardly any of that this time. It was like, here's our autonomous tractor unit, and it's powered by diesel. So that was definitely something that we saw that I stuck with me. And the other, and I did mention autonomy already, but definitely autonomy continues, but a real push as a way to deal with labor issues. We're not just struggling with labor issues here in Canada and the US. You talk to the Europeans, it's the same thing. A lot of the innovations were, some of the speaking points of the companies we talked to were all about dealing with labor issues. So definitely things that there's a whole bunch of stuff, but those are kind of the top 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, cool. And that the New Holland combine, class 11 combine. And I'm thinking, that's over twice. My combine is a class 5. It's like, holy mackerel. It's just the capacity. But what I thought was cool about that was that they've managed the weight not to make it heavier and the size not to make it bigger. And that's been one of our challenges as we've gotten bigger and bigger. It's always heavier and heavier, and that means more and more compaction. Now, I think when the bin is full, that combine is still, because it's got so much capacity, it's still going to be a beast in the field, so to speak. But that was cool. And you talk about autonomy, that just has to come because, I don't know, people like me that love working in the field, we're getting older and older. And so as we fall off the table, something's got to happen, and it just seems to be labor is a big issue.
Yeah.
So on the autonomous stuff, what about new computer technology, AI technology, weed control? Because I know when you went last time, a lot of it was on weed control. Was there new stuff there as well?
Yeah, we did a great interview with Tom Wolfe, that from Sprayers 101 that we played on the week or on the show last week. We have posted that on our YouTube channel as well as on RealAgriculture.com if you want to check back on that, everybody. But yeah, there is advancements in See and Spray. I would say also an improvement in the computing power. So a lot of times when we saw like Autonomy going back to 2019, the tractor was crawling, right? Because there's the sensors and then the computing power and then the action. That's now happening. We did a video with a mechanical tillage company. I think it was Garford. And you're going 9 miles an hour through the field, right?
Wow.
And that's mechanical, sensor, weed removal, interplant. So that's some pretty cool, or that was inter-row, sorry, I should say. So that's an improvement for sure. And a piece of that, Pete, too, what was really hammered home, and I'm thinking about our trip to the Kloss booth actually on day one, where they talked about the smart implement. So you're seeing a lot of collaboration between the tractor, the manufacturers, the tractor companies, and then the implement companies like a Lemkin or an Amazon, where we've got the smart implement, right? So the sensors are actually back on the implement, whether you're spraying or you're doing some tillage or or planting. It's the implement that has the sensors. It's the implement that knows what's happening from a soil perspective, the conditions, what the actual operation is doing, and it's that smart implement that communicates up to the tractor, so the tractor knows what to do. And right now we think about all the brains being in the tractor because that's where the human is. But as we have more autonomy, the brains are actually in the implement. The tractor is responding to what that implement is saying. It's very kind of cool, kind of a switch around it, and it makes a lot of sense. But I to be honest, I haven't totally thought about it in that way before. And Kloss was one of the ones that really woke me up to it on day one.
Yeah, and I think, that's almost essential, Shaun. Like, it's like putting a camera on your drill to kind of see what's actually happening with the drill in the ground. Like, I'm a drill guy. We plant lots of wheat, and I talk lots about drills and what works and what doesn't. But sitting in the tractor seat, you just can't get the same vision that I can if I'm riding on the back of the drill and I can actually look down and see where it's engaging the soil and see how it's closing and see how it's cutting through the residue, all of those things. It's way more instructional. So this makes perfect sense to me. If it's not a camera now, it's actually better than that. They've got things figured out so that it can just tell the tractor you need to do X or I need to seed deeper because I'm not getting the moisture, or gee, I'm not cutting through the residue, so we need to engage the row cleaner or whatever that is. I think that's a real step forward. And the trick will be, as with always with these things, do we have the knowledge? Can we build the algorithm that actually works under a wide range of conditions? Because I know that people in Western Canada can get away with doing things in fields under soil moisture conditions that if I did those on a clay soil in Ontario, I would have no crop whatsoever. And that's just a difference in the region, a difference in the amount of organic matter, in the structure of the soil. And so that algorithm, I think, has to have a certain amount of flexibility or be adjusted for different regions. And that will take some time and some effort as well.
Yeah, good point. Regionality is always going to be one of the big challenges, right? And the adaptability of some of these things. We've talked about this from a number of different angles, including the ROI of cover crops, depending on the region. So it fits into a lot of different buckets for sure. The funny story is, I stopped at the Redicott booth at Agritechnica. They were in the Canadian Pavilion, and they asked if you actually did get your used chopper. Did you? They were checking, Pete. They were checking up on you.
So I've got a couple of leads. I haven't gotten one yet, but we're done for the year, and I need to follow up on those leads. One grower in particular said, "Well, it's sitting there, but it didn't come off a 9500. I'm not sure it'll fit." So I'm still in the process, Shaun, but we're getting closer.
Okay, well that's good. It's nice when the manufacturer is checking up on you. Okay, let's take a break. We've got more coming up here with Peter W. Pete Johnson here on Agronomic Monday. We'll be right back right after this.
As you look ahead to the next growing season, there's a lot to consider when it comes to your crop. You need every possible advantage available to you. The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to make the best choice for you and your farm. On-demand videos with leading industry experts available anywhere, anytime. Go into the season confident and ready with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
As a grower, you spend a lot of time focused on the details. And sometimes it's only after harvest that you can step back and see the bigger picture. At AGI, we spend a lot of time focused on details too, making sure you can store your grain how you need to and move it when you need to. Learn more at aggrowth.com.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
And we are back here on RealAg Radio on Agronomic Monday, brought to you by Alliance Seed and CDC Endure Oats. Pete loves this cereal, so keep growing those oats. Top yields, excellent disease resistance, and the quality end users ask for all in one great oat variety. CDC Endure is available through Alliance Seed authorized retailers. Go to allianceseed.com. That's allianceseed.com. As I mentioned, we're talking to Peter W. Pete Johnson. Pete, harvest continues out in central and eastern Canada. And as we kind of thought, big yields on the corn in some parts, but definitely some quality concerns as well.
Yeah, it's the yields on corn, Shaun, in some areas, particularly eastern Ontario, they looks like they will shatter all records. Warren Schneckenberger loves to poke fun at me about corn on corn because you know that rotation is almost a religion to me. I know there's times when you can't rotate the way wheat. Pete wants you to rotate, but you got to rotate. And Warren said his corn on corn, fourth year corn at 230 bushels per acre. And I said, yeah, he's like, wow. And I just fired back, yep, and your corn after wheat is going to be 300 bushels per acre.
Oh, you Debbie Downer. Look at you.
Well, that's not Debbie Downer. That's just saying that he's got nothing but better to come.
You're a buzzkill. The guy's happy about his corn yield after corn on corn. You're a buzzkill.
I'm just always pushing my. By the way, he did say that he was pretty sure his corn after wheat was going to beat his fourth year corn by a nice margin. He didn't know what that margin would be, but he said from the looks of it that, it might well be 30 bushels more. And so you go like, wow, Eastern Ontario, Keith Wells all filled up. He needs to haul out 60 B trains of corn to create enough storage to finish harvesting his crop. 60 B trains. Man, Shaun. So the yields across the province are good. Eastern Ontario looks like, just shattering records. Here in southwestern Ontario, a lot of growers saying, really good. A few saying best ever, not everybody. A few kind of saying, yeah, it's just average. We were hoping for more. It's not really exciting. So it depends on the region, but nobody, I shouldn't, maybe not nobody, but I have not talked to anyone who has said, well, we're below our 5-year average. Everybody is at least average or above. Elevators are jammed. My local elevator has been closing at 7 o'clock every night and reopening at noon because that's all they can handle in terms of drying capacity. I'm getting questions from growers, how long can wet corn sit in the wet bin before it starts to go off quality? Because the dryers can't keep up. In Eastern Ontario, everybody is saying how hard the corn is drying out there. Now that's a little different than down here in the Southwest. Most of the dryers here, they're saying, well, it's drying okay, although 30% moisture corn generally dries really quickly for those first few points. And it's like all the way down, it's the same. Mostly the last couple of points you pull out are much harder. This year, it just seems to be taking more effort all the way through, although some corn here in southwestern Ontario, not all the dryers are saying it's harder to dry. But lots of issues, by the way, from a safety standpoint, Shaun, and we should have been hitting this 3 weeks ago, and that's my bad on this. But we have dawn in the corn crop, and we know that, not so much in Eastern Ontario, but southwestern Ontario, and the dust coming off of that corn has 5 times the level of toxin. This is work by David Miller out of Carleton University. He's done a ton of work on this. 5 times the toxin level in the dust. And I pull into the elevator and I see all these guys working at the elevator, people working at the elevator, and they don't have dust masks on. And I'm going, put on a dust mask. Like, breathing that toxin in is not good for you, and it will give you farmer's lung, and it will, like, actually, Woody Van Arkel said it, like, he pokes his head inside the top of his bin, and he's in an area that's got some pretty significant dawn levels, and he says, I poke my head in there, I take 4 or 5 breaths, and I almost feel sick to my stomach. Why is that? Well, if you've developed a bit of a sensitivity to the dawn toxin, I can see how that could happen. So please wear that personal protective equipment, particularly around a crop like this.
Do you think that, and I'm sure there's some sort of like equation, like a company like AGI would know this equation that sells a grain dryer, but how many acres of corn do you need to justify putting the on-farm grain dryer in your operation? Because I asked some growers and they're like, I don't grow enough corn. But what is that number? Do you know what that number is?
I think, Shaun, that it depends a whole lot on your willingness to store and how good you are at extracting extra dollars from storing that grain. So I have local neighbors who only have 250 acres of crop, and they have put in their own grain dryer.
Wow.
And like 250 acres, and it's paying back massive. They can do a nicer job. That it's not like nothing against commercial elevators, but I go to a commercial elevator. I do not want to hang around forever, and so they've got to have capacity. To get capacity, you have to go to high temperatures in the plenum. That means that you put the grain quality at more risk. It's just a temperature differential and how fast you get there. Whereas these on-farm dryers, they're able to dry more slowly. By doing that, they can increase the bushel weight more. They don't maybe get as many fines in the crop, so they have a quality crop. And if they can store it, man, at the end of the day, sometimes they'll make a $1 a bushel just out of having that in storage until March, where when Johnson dumps it down the pit at the elevator in early November, it's kind of like, man, I store it till March. I'm paying whatever, 3 cents a month plus 10 cents at the first hit, and that eats up a lot of the gain that I could get if the market does respond.
Well, and think about it, on if we ever get Bill C-234 passed and become law, the exemption on the carbon tax is only on the on-farm grain dryer, right? So at the commercial elevator, you're paying that carbon tax, and you'll continue to do so. So I guess that's not a forever thing. Like if the Conservatives get in, they're going to axe the tax altogether. So, but it's sort of like the fertilizer storage question. going back to, what is it, 2 springs ago, where everybody was concerned about being able to get fertilizer. The situation just broke out with Russia and Ukraine. Not a lot of fertilizer storage on farm in Eastern Canada for a number of reasons. More blending being one of the ones that I've heard from a lot of people. So this is kind of, in some ways, kind of similar to me, where people that have the on-farm grain drying, they're thankful for it. Are we going to see more people try to increase that in their operations?
And my guess would be absolutely.
Yeah.
What I would say, there's less mid-sized farmers, and so a lot of larger farmers are going to building their own drying setup just because they don't want to be held up. It's not everybody, but certainly I think there's more drying. Well, I know in southwestern Ontario there are more on-farm dryers going in all the time, and that's just because it gives more flexibility, 100%. And it is like fertilizer storage, Shauna, like absolutely. But when you mention fertilizer, I immediately go to potash because, man, I'm getting a lot of questions about potash and applying potash out in farmers' fields right now.
Okay, what are people saying?
So the trick is that 2 years ago, like you said, fertilizer prices went through the roof, and a lot of growers said, "Oh, Pete, like, how much do I have to apply?" And you know what Pete said? He said, "Well, if you've built up your soil test levels, you really can kind of coast for a year or two." And now potash levels have come down. A lot of growers feel like potash levels may increase. The war in Israel apparently is a significant exporter of potash. I don't know exactly what that level is, maybe 10% or something. It's not like they're 50% of the export market, but apparently they do export some potash, and everybody's kind of thinking that potash prices could go up. So now the question is, where do I get the biggest bang for my buck? And some growers who have taken on new land, one in particular, Dave called me and said, I got a 70 potash soil test. How much can I apply? I think the price is right to do it this fall. Is it okay to do it on corn stalks? The answer to that is yes. It's not an environmental problem. Phosphorus is a totally different story. I repeat, do not broadcast phosphorus now in the Great Lakes Basin. I don't care if you're Michigan, you're Ohio, you're Quebec, you're Ontario, you're New York State. Like, we just cannot broadcast phosphorus now unless you're incorporating it, unless you are getting into the soil. But potash, a different scenario. And yeah, you have a potash test that needs to be built. We can go up to about 600 pounds per acre of product potash. So that's about 360 pounds of actual potash. And that's sort of the upper limit that I'd like to see, because it is a salt. And we do get moisture recharge. We're not Western Canada. We don't get that salt level to stay, but there are limits in terms of how much salt we can leach out over the winter, even here in southwestern Ontario. So yeah, that's a significant program in a lot of the province. We are moving a lot of potash, and we are storing it in the field where it needs to be, and I think that's all good.
You made me think. Sorry, you made me think of. We stopped at the Amazon booth, and they've got spreaders, right? And doing a lot of work in precision spreading, and they've got this new Border TS boundary spreading system where basically you can get up right to the edge of the field now, Pete. Like on the curve. Like, it is really, really cool. Really neat stuff happening in that area of spreading for people that are still doing that kind of fertilizer application. Very neat stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say it, one of these days I'll get in big trouble. But man, if you are still using one of those old feeder spreaders that were made 20 years ago, and every fertilizer depot here in southwestern Ontario has 20 of them sitting in their yard because that's what we always used.
Oh, man.
Those things, the spread pattern is horrible. You can't get to the edge of the field. Like this new technology, and there's a number of companies. Amazon is certainly one that's at the forefront, but there's a bunch of those European companies that are building these spreaders. Pottinger, I think, has one. I can't even think of all the different companies that do, but But man, that technology is incredible and getting better. And some of them will even sense the wind and change for the
absolutely.
wind. And it's just like, so therein really lies the greater question, Shaun, is how many acres do I need to afford to buy one of those spreaders so I can actually do a good job with my fertilizer?
Oh, good
as opposed
question.
to that I don't know, but I hate those spinner spreaders from I don't know 20 years ago. We should just send them all to the doggone steel recycler and turn them into something useful.
Yeah, if you haven't seen some of the new spreader technology, I'm only exposed to it, thinking about some of our experiences at Agritechnica, but these aren't your grandpa's spreaders. It is amazing what some of the technology is. And when they say precision spreading, you're like, precision broadcast spreading? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't get that. But if you see it, you look at some of the technology that is on that spreader, yeah, it is precision. It's, adjusting for topography, for wind, the border control I was talking about, just examples that are just absolutely minimizing the wastage. And that's key, right? Why help out your neighbor? And when we're talking about runoff and things like that, like up against a stream, like all of that thing, it was kind of amazing. So pretty cool stuff. Of course, I got a video on that coming out too. So I got a video for everything in the next about 4 months.
Yeah, well, I'll be looking forward to that. The one thing I will say about those fertilizer spreaders, Shaun, is the other end of that is that the fertilizer industry needs to provide us with a quality product, because you can have the best spreader in the world, but if the granule size isn't the same or it's full of dust does not spread very well with any system. So we really do need quality fertilizer as well to make that work the way it should.
Yeah, good point. Hey, Pete, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll chat with you again in 7 days.
Hey, super. Thanks, Shaun. And I'm glad you're back from Germany. And cool. I'm looking forward to all the videos.
Trying to get over this jet lag. That is Peter Wheat Pete Johnson. New episode of Wheat Pete's Word drops every single Wednesday. You can get the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be right back here on RealAg Radio, here on Agronomic Monday, right after this.
Boron is an essential micronutrient for plant growth, and without boron, your crops can't absorb the macronutrients they need for higher yields. Although borates occur naturally, boron deficiency is a common soil problem. Whether in direct soil application, through fertigation, or as a foliar spray, US Borax has the right refined product for your crops. US Borax products are specifically formulated to combine with other fertilizers, lowering your application costs. Learn more at borax.com/ag.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup, weed control, field trial results, yield strategies, and so much more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF, Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest podcast today.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio. It's time for today's Product Spotlight. Joining me now on the line is Barrie Mann. He's the Vice President of Investor Relations with Genesis Fertilizers. Welcome here, Barrie.
Hello, Lindsay. Great to be here.
All right. So tell me, Barrie, what is the Genesis Fertilizer Project?
Right. So Genesis is it's a limited partnership with primarily farmer involvement, farmer ownership. And the project was formed, Genesis was formed to build out a Western Canadian fertilizer manufacturing and distribution system. So we're moving directly into the production of primarily urea, and then building out a system of distribution centers across Western Canada for obviously the storage and blending. But the primary focus is the plant itself, which is to be located at Belle Plaine, Saskatchewan, and with about a 700,000 ton capacity.
Now, You did mention, of course, this important aspect of the farmer participation, the farmer investment is in this. So what are the fundamentals as to why this is an investment that farmers are participating in?
Right. So it's, I think it's been known for some time, in Western Canada, farmers do pay some of the highest fertilizer costs around the world, according to all the different research that's out there. And the reason basically is we're landlocked, right? We're far away from any major port. So when the supply and demand issues, tend to move up and down, it's really the port of NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana, that sets the price, because that's the import position for North America, and 50% of imports come through there. So it's well known that that's essentially where prices are set. And because Western Canadian farmers are pretty much the furthest away from that port, we pay the highest prices due to the freight component that's built in. So inherently, we've got this market, I don't know if you call it distortion, but it definitely impacts the prices. On the other side of the equation, we're sitting here with essentially unlimited natural gas as a feedstock. So the producers in Western Canada, the fertilizer manufacturers, enjoy quite an advantage where you're able to produce the fertilizer at some of the cheapest costs in the world, but our retail prices, due to the NOLA situation, we pay some of the highest prices. So what that results in is some of the world's greatest margins in the fertilizer industry. And the Genesis model is simply to take that natural occurrence due to geography and other factors and allow farmers to participate in that value chain.
Now, so this is, it's a big project. What's the current status? What does the timeline look like going forward?
Yeah, it is a big project. It's estimated to be currently about $1.7 billion. There's a couple components to it. So you've got the project itself, the physical project, right? You've got the engineering, the design. What exactly is that plant going to look like? Where's it going to go? What are the services required to bring it in? So there's an incredible amount of work required to get the project off the ground, and we recognize that. And it's also a lot of money, right? So we've been working for the last year and a half, I guess, is really when the project said, okay, let's go. It's go time. The Saskatchewan government stepped up with considerable incentives in order to build. So that really allowed the financial aspects of it to be, to be in place to say it's a good time to start. So we began a capital raise. We put in a lot of the, we fleshed out the project dynamics, all the way things were going to work. We started that capital raise about a year and a half. So over that time, we've been raising a significant amount of capital directly from the farms. So the way the project is getting done is the plant produces kind of a static amount of fertilizer, right? Like it's the plant produces what it produces, and it's designed to produce at to peak capacity. So we've just taken those tons and we're kind of dividing them up by the farmers. So farmers are taking a stake directly in the plant based on the amount of fertilizer they use on their farm. So it's quite a very unique opportunity. So they become totally vertically integrated. So if they're a farmer and they're using, they're a 5,000 acre farmer, they're using 300 tons of fertilizer, they're going to own the equity stake in the plant in the company that represents those tons that they're using. So although Genesis is going to charge market price, Genesis will be a market player just like everybody else, but the ownership is going to be the farmers. And today, when you look at the ownership structure of the major producers in Canada, the major plants that operate, and you look at the ownership structure, it's large hedge funds and it's a lot of international ownership. So this is just a tremendous opportunity for farmers across Western Canada and Eastern Canada. They are participating as well. That where they can take a direct ownership, and those profits, those margins, which are, like I said, are some of the greatest in the industry, they're going to stay on the farm. They're going to come back to the farmer because of their ownership stake. So it really is like I said, a unique opportunity that works with urea fertilizer and other nitrogen fertilizers, where because they use it every year and they use about the same amount, they're able to take an investment position that really does reflect their personal use. So they become the owner, but they're also their own customer.
Alrighty. And where then, for farmers who are interested, where could they go for more information?
Just genesisfertilizers.com. We have a lot of information on there, and there's obviously the opportunity to just click a button and allow Genesis to reach out and directly contact them. We're also going to be holding a series of town hall meetings in Manitoba and Saskatchewan the week of the 20th. So those will be listed on our website as well.
And we'll be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture. And welcome back to Real Ag Radio. It's now time for the top ag news stories of the day. Let me tell you about Envita. Envita bridges the nitrogen gap all season long, enabling your corn crop to fix the nitrogen it needs from the atmosphere when and where it needs it most. Let Envita set your crop up for success by requesting it from your local retailer. So check out Envita. Okay, let's dive in here. Bunch of stuff to chat about. Now, Farmer's Edge, big story in the Globe and Mail, end of last week. We also got an update here at realagriculture.com. Farmer's Edge majority shareholder is looking to buy the remaining shares of the digital agriculture company for a small fraction of the value of the company when it first went public less than 3 years ago. Fairfax Financial Holdings, which holds about 61% of the company, has made a non-binding offer to purchase the remaining shares at 25 cents apiece. Now, that's nearly a 99% drop from the $17 a share when the company went public back in March of 21. Wow. The Farmers Edge board has formed a special committee to evaluate the offer and explore potential alternatives, including keeping the status quo. The company says it doesn't expect to make any further public comments unless the committee approves a specific action. Huge, in the precision ag space, definitely... would you describe it as a fall from grace? It was was kind of the leader along with Climate and Granular and some of those others, which was kind of neat because it was definitely an independent from not being tied to those companies, and it is really, really been, I guess, a very slippery slope to the downside. You got to wonder if the board takes the offer and runs at this point. Fairfax obviously looking for some sort of a deal and a restructure, maybe a repackage. I don't exactly know what their reasons are, but definitely possible big changes coming from Farmer's Edge if Fairfax is able to make that purge. A lot of layoffs have happened in Canada when it comes to Farmer's Edge compared to where they were from the highs, so to speak. Farmers are planning to hold public rallies on Parliament Hill and other locations on Tuesday as they call on the Senate to pass Bill C-234. While no farm or political groups are officially involved, multiple sources are telling Real Agriculture that individuals are organizing a rally to be held, like I said, Tuesday, November 21st on Parliament Hill. The demonstration will coincide with senators returning for their first sitting since November 9th, when an amendment was proposed at the third and final reading stage of 234, stalling passage of the bill that would remove the federal carbon tax from propane and natural gas used on farms for grain drying, barn heating, and other purposes. The Trudeau government has deployed multiple unusual procedural tactics to obstruct and really prevent this from moving forward, it would seem. Now, here's some interesting notes. It's expected the city of Ottawa will not allow tractors to be a part of this protest, partially in response to the handling of the Freedom Convoy, last year, was that, or maybe a year and a half ago, as well as to remain consistent with rules for pro-Palestinian protests currently happening in Ottawa. We'll see how many people show up. I definitely have gotten some emails about it. And if you are planning to be involved in the protests in Ottawa, reach out, Haney at RealAgriculture.com. We need to definitely have somebody potentially that was on location for that protest or in the downtown to be a guest here. Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada launches Methane Reduction Challenge. So up to $12 million in federal funding will be awarded to innovators to advance low-cost and scalable practices, processes, and technologies designed to reduce methane emissions produced by cattle. The Agricultural Methane Reduction Challenge, launched by Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada late last week, is a key part of the Government of Canada's plan to tackle climate change, according to the government. The challenge will use a phased approach. At each stage, an external review panel will determine which applicants move up to the following stage and receive the funding. The government adds that the challenge is designed in collaboration with beef and dairy industry groups to accelerate successes, spur innovation, and reduce emissions. Now, at 100,000 feet, I think this is a really good idea. This is how if your goal is to actually reduce something like methane emissions, let's do it through innovation. Let the creativity. Let's not have the stick approach, which is what the carbon tax is an example of. Winnipeg, Manitoba-based farm equipment manufacturer Buhler Industries is reporting progress on finding a new long-term investor. The company that employs around 800 people building versatile tractors and Farm King equipment announced in July that it hired Toronto-based Origin Merchant Partners to find an investor who is committed to preserving the legacy of the iconic Versatile and Farm King brands. As a part of its November 14th third quarter earnings report, Buhler said it had advanced this process, citing this progress. The company says its lenders have agreed to extend the maturity dates of its credit facility from October 31st to December 4th of this year. Buhler has not publicly stated whether it's looking to sell a minority or majority ownership stake, but the investor search is viewed as a possible sign that Buhler's Russian owners are looking to divest as geopolitical tension has become entrenched with Canada's strong opposition to Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. A few of you reached out as well and asked me about, were there a lot of Russians at Agritechnica, and there weren't. Some of the Russian companies as well were not there, and that has a lot to do with the sanctions, getting equipment into the country. So that was, a few of you asked me about that, and I talked to a few of the machinery companies about that, and there was very few, if any, Russian farmers or companies in attendance at last week's exhibition. And finally, Beijing has defended its prosecution of two Canadians for espionage after the Globe and Mail reported that Michael Spavor blames intelligence work done by Michael Kovrig for their nearly 3-year-long detention. Remember the two Michaels? Well, one's turning on the other, saying, your fault. Mr. Spavor is seeking a multi-million-dollar settlement from Ottawa, two sources told the Globe, alleging he was arrested in China in late 2018 because he unwittingly provided intelligence on North Korea to Mr. Kovrig, which was later shared with Canada and allied spy services. In a statement Sunday, China's embassy in Ottawa said the two Canadians were suspected of committing crimes endangering China's national security, and their case was handled by the Chinese judicial system in accordance with the law. Recent relevant reports once again prove that the above facts cannot be denied, said the embassy. Canada's hyping up of so-called arbitrary detention by China is purely a thief crying, "Stop thief," and fully exposes Canada's hypocrisy, according to the Chinese agency. So that, I encourage you to go to the Globe and Mail and check out that story. Very interesting in terms of what potentially went down there between Mr. Kovrig and Mr. Spavor. If you have any feedback on today's show, we'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Of course, you can also call the RealAg feedback line. It is 855-776-6147. Keep that feedback coming. Also, make sure you check out realagriculture.com for all that Agritechnica coverage, as we're going to release 5 new videos this week. A busy week in production. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. We'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.